Hello, this is Craig Mertens, President and CEO of Digital Art Solutions. I also got with me David Gross, the President of Conde Systems. Welcome to the webcast. This is a joint venture between Conde Systems and Digital Art Solutions. The topic that we're going to be working on today is how to maximize your efforts in the school, team, and sports market. And when you look at the overall, scale of the personalization and decorated apparel industry, the sports market is your biggest segment, and there's tens of thousands of elementary schools, middle schools, high schools across the United States. And one of the things that we're particularly blessed with in this country, from the perspective of the decorated apparel industry and personalization industry, is school spirit. People are really into their schools, they're into their kids, they're into sports. As Americans and Canadians as well, we just absolutely love to have t-shirts that show off our support for our kids and all of our different athletic teams and things of that nature. I know if I go through my particular wardrobe at home, David, I probably have 75 guilty as charged t-shirts that have various soccer logos, collegiate logos, and NFL logos. And David, I suspect that you probably have a
I've
fairly
got
significant,
a few, but
yeah,
I'll also say this, Craig, that remember to everybody out there that a really, to an extent, an untapped way to get into this market is through fundraising.
correct.
All these teams, organizations participate in fundraising, and it's very often a boring and financially unattractive market to sell wrapping paper, whatever. So why not key on the need for this kind of product and personalization altogether?
Agreed, and we'll spend a little bit of time at the end of the webcast talking about for lack of a better word, a scheme or strategy for fundraising, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, first thing I want to talk about, we've kind of addressed the market, but there's really there's actually three markets in the sports team and school apparel. Okay, and market number one, by the way, this is a catalog from our campus apparel marketing system, and this is actually the PDF version of an actual real printed catalog. This particular program for our company, we actually give you 16-page full color catalogs. Everybody starts out with 10, and then you can actually distribute these to your clients. And then there's an art volume that goes along with this, where the actual graphics are there in Illustrator and CorelDRAW format. And then every single month we come out with new graphics, and we automatically populate those into your computer if you're running our Smart Designer add-on software for CorelDRAW. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But what I want to talk about is the market opportunities and what's actually going on. Okay, number one is uniforms. So obviously school teams and sports uniforms, and all the different activities and teams and things of that nature are going to have their uniforms. That is the most challenging group to get into. It is very competitive, tends to be dominated by big giant companies that in some cases even pay for sponsorships. Now you have like Nike involved in the high schools. I was talking to a client of mine in the Portland show last week and said, yeah, Nike owns our whole high school. They all the apparel, all of the uniforms are all donated by Nike High School. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Maybe Phil Knight went to that high school. And so the market for uniforms, it's there, but it's very competitive. And a lot of that market is bid related, where you're having to bid. It can be kind of political. It's a little bit challenging. We have clients that specialize in that, and that's their main thing, but that's not actually the biggest market. The biggest market is spirit wear. And what spirit wear is the apparel and personalized items that are supporting the athletes and supporting the people at the team. So mom and dad shirts. If you look at this particular page, there's some pretty good example of spirit wear here. So here's a lacrosse design, here's a golf design, here's a varsity cheer design. That's more along the line of spirit wear as opposed to the actual uniforms, and that's actually the biggest part of the market. And one of the things that's kind of a uniquely North American trait is every time we turn around, there seems like there's a new t-shirt. They're doing homecoming, they're doing new t-shirts. There's a rivalry football game, they're doing new t-shirts. The groups will do new t-shirts when they come back to school as well. So the third part of that market is all of the peripheral events that are non-sports related that go on around a school. And those are things like, for instance, class shirts. Here's class of 2016. You have things of the nature of, retreats for student council, student government, senior day, drama club, all of those things. So those are all target markets for this particular market. And what's good about that is the following: is if here's something most people don't know. You know what the largest, most highly participated group at any school is, David? What do you think the most participation is for any activity or sport at a school? Care to take a
About
stab at that?
how about band?
You got it. Band. Band. That's the big kahuna. If you can get in with the marching band, there's more kids participating in that than anything. And so a lot of times people kind of forget about that. If you look at like football, American style football, you're going to have freshman football. A lot of schools will have a JV and they'll also have a varsity, and probably anywhere between 40 to 60 kids per group, and at least over 100 at a major high school. Smaller schools, different story. Maybe they only have JV and varsity and smaller staffs, but those are your big groups. Those are and because they're your big groups, they're the high profile groups, and they're the groups that everybody wants to sell to. Well, guess what? Some of these smaller groups present a unique opportunity because they don't get quite as much love. And so some of the things like me personally, I was involved in high school with student government, and also was on the track and cross country team. Cross country team is pretty small. Between men and women, there's about 30 people involved in that. Track team is pretty big, but those are smaller peripheral type opportunities. So things like drama club, things like key club, things like international club, math club, science club. Now they even have robotics clubs. And so there's all these other opportunities that evolve around schools that are actually in the aggregate are actually larger than the big giant sports. And it's a little bit easier to get into those. So what I'm gonna kind of talk to you a little bit about here as well. And these are just different templates from our campus apparel catalog. The key to getting into these, to getting your foot in the door, there's a couple keys to getting your foot into the door, and I can uniquely give you firsthand experience about this because before my life as one of the founders of Digital Art Solutions, I was a manufacturer's representative in the imprinted sportswear industry, and so my primary accounts were colleges, university, college bookstores. Did a lot of work with retail entities, like sporting goods stores and big giant department stores like JCPenney Corporation. Worked with the U.S. Olympic Committee Training Center in Colorado Springs. And here's the scoop, man. You call up one of those accounts and you try to get your foot in the door. It's not an easy thing to do. And so what I did, and a technique that works very, very well, is I used virtual samples to get my foot in the door. And so what I would do is I would go in. Actually, I can show you here in a second. I think I got one of these catalogs here. Yeah, right here. Here's our catalog. So this is our catalog from Desert Sportswear. This is the company my parents founded. I was a rep for this company when I got out of college, and this was our catalog circa 30 years ago. This would have been this is probably about 1988, 30 years ago. These are all my sister's friends over here. And so what we would do is we would come out with graphics collections every single quarter. And those collections would be tied to the things that were going on around schools and universities at that time of the year. So for instance, in fall, what we'd be doing is all of our bowl designs for college football bowl games. And so our reps, we had 30 different sales reps, and they would go in to our accounts, and they would show people representative examples of what these graphics would look like. And so what we did is we had a graphics team, and they would go in and they would take a design, say from here, we'll go back here. They might take this University of Arizona design, and I would have our graphics team go in and modify this to say University of Colorado. And I might pick 3 or 4 designs here, and I would go into the buyer, and I would have these printed out along with this catalog. I'd have these printed out, and I would have a little cover letter with my business card, and I'd have a physical sample, a real sample, and I would lay it off on the buyer's desk, and I'd say, hey, listen, I just want to drop this off. I know you're a busy person. I'd like to call you in about a week ago. Maybe it's possible we could set up an appointment. I could show you what we do. And these people would give me an appointment. And when I first started in my sales territory in Colorado and Wyoming, I had 2 accounts. I mean, and I was very kind of beat up. I had a territory in Arizona. It was pretty well entrenched, and they shipped me off to Colorado with my 2 cats, Bartles and James, and my new wife, and I had to make a go of it, and it was very intimidating. But what I found is by engaging clients in the creative process in graphics, that these folks would start seeing me. and they would give me appointments, and they were impressed by the graphics we were doing. And when you sell graphics first, and when you build your, your business around the graphics, people aren't as particular about the pricing. They like that graphic, and they realize in order to get that graphic, they have to buy it from you. And so that starts to separate you from the competition. That's a really, really big deal. And so that basic principle is in the core of my being, because I use that technique to take a territory that was doing $67,000 a year with 2 accounts and build that to a territory that was doing $2.5 million a year with 260 accounts. And I did that in a 2-year span. And the technique that I used to do that was virtual samples, was getting ideas in front of people. We didn't have computer software to do this dynamically back then. We had a staff of 21 full-time production artists. There's probably 5 or 6 people that's all they did. So it's not by accident that this original Desert Sportswear catalog here look familiar. This is the cooler version because we updated all this. It's not by accident that we did that. And so one of the things that I kind of preach to my customers is this: engagement. If you engage the client in the creative process, they take ownership of it. So think about it like this. You're trying to sell the, high profile at any school is the booster clubs. So you're trying to sell the booster club at the school. And let me tell you, it's not easy to get into the booster clubs. It can be very, very political. And what I mean by political is that the person in charge of making the decision might be a parent or a group of parents. They might have a favorite vendor. They might have a family member or a friend that's in the business, and they're giving all that business over to them. So you have to find a way to get in the door. And the way you get in the door might not necessarily be through a sublimated t-shirt or a vinyl graphic or something that's more traditional. The way you might get through the door is a personalized product that they can't get anywhere else, and something that's really unique. So David, in your product line, in the Conde Systems product line, what would you classify as a door opener type of product if you were going to go after a booster club?
Well, I would certainly go after the moms, and I'd probably be a little sneaky, and I'd probably do a cuff bracelet. And you could do a cuff bracelet with their child on there, or if they have more than one child, a picture of it, or just something that represents the school in a almost monogram chevrons kind of fashion.
Yeah, one of the products that you guys have on your, I like depends on what state you're in, but I really love the license plate frame holders. I think that's a really good one. Stickers and decals are a really good one. One of my favorites as a door opener, probably my all-time favorite as a door opener, is a Rhinestone decal, which is something that's kind of unique to me because we invented that. And so people don't see that. In Arizona, you see it. I can't drive to work throughout the course of 5 days and sometimes 6 days in the week without seeing a Rhinestone decal on a car on my way into work. It's a very common, popular thing here in Arizona because we have a lot of clients here. But it's something that you can produce and you could take into a booster club and you can use it as a door opener. I'll give you a specific example of that. Is my high school, Chaparral High School, and here in Scottsdale, is the rival school to my daughter's high school. And so I went and I made some Chaparral Rhinestone decals, just did it. And we happened to be at the rivalry football game between the two teams. And I had a client that I was trying to help out that also had kids at the school. And I went off and I made up 3 different little rhinestone decals. And I had the business card, my business card. And I explained that, my name is Craig Mertens. I'm the president of Digital Art Solutions. This is, we have a software company. I'm an alumni here. And this is one of the things that we invented and our clients produce. I have a local client here that would love to be able to work with you guys. And so I just dropped it off with the gals that were behind the little desk there at the football game. And I made sure I got information on the lady that was the purchasing person. She was pretty cool. She was pretty happy about it because she got her own decal. I made 3 of them, so the 2 gals that were there got one, and they still had a sample. And I had my client follow up, and she did a big order with them. And she used the rhinestone decal as the door opener to get other apparel into that particular store. And the funny ending to that story now is we have 3 clients that are all DAS clients that duke it out for all the Chaparral gear. It's pretty funny, and they're all like arch competitors, and all 3 of them are our clients. And the concept here is engagement. You're engaging the client in the creative process. You're showing them what you can do. And it was interesting. I was talking to a client last week, David, and I called her up, and she was kind of down. and she was really down. And I could hear it in her voice, and I just asked her, I said, what's going on? She goes, well, I don't have any orders coming in right now. Well, I asked her, I said, well, what do you mean orders coming in? She says, well, so nobody's ordering through my website. And I go, well, I had to tell her, I said, listen, if you're not dedicating, pretty significant amount of money to search engine optimization and getting people crossing your website, orders aren't just going to pour in. You have to engage your clients, and there's a multitude of ways that you can do that. And one of the ways that I like to do that is I'm a big fan of real samples. Most of you guys have sublimation systems. It's easy to produce a single sample. If you have like an Okidata white toner printer, like the ones that Conde distributes, you can make a single sample. If you have a vinyl cutter, you can make a single sample, whether it's vinyl graphics or a sticker or personalized monogram. You can do all of that. And so you can drop those off with key decision makers. You can also go on the website for the different schools and groups and find out who the decision makers are. And you can go in and email them with little virtual samples. One of the things that we teach our clients to do with this Campus Pro marketing system is go in. People order hundreds of these catalogs, and they go in and pepper the schools with the catalogs. They go in and literally have a cover letter. They talk to the school secretary. They have them insert these catalogs into the little cubbies for the teachers. So when they come back to school in the summer to check their boxes, they're like, holy smokes, these guys are local and they have a catalog, and they're going to make it super easy for me to do my senior shirt. See what we got going on down here? This is what it's all about. It's all about engagement. So I was kind of sharing this with this client. Here's the back cover of that Campus Pro catalog. So here's your imprint locations and your colors. And can't find a style or color, please call and email. We'll track down your special color. Here's a little white area that you can put a sticker template on there. We have a little sticker template. You can put your business card. You can use a Sharpie and write in a personalized note. So it's all about engagement. So with this client who was kind of having a hard time, I asked her, I said, hey, do you have a Facebook page? And she's like, yeah, I do. I said, is it a fan page or is it a personal page? And she goes, well, what's the difference? I said, do you have friends or do you have likes? And she goes, I have friends. And I go, how many friends you got on there? She goes, yeah, several hundred. I go, that's good. So people know that you're in this business, right? She goes, yeah, of course. I said, you can use it through your personal page, but it's better to have a fan page. And a fan page is like a business page where people, instead of being your friends, they like you. And the advantage of a fan page is that you can do promotions. So number one, you can link it to a Shopify Lite account, and you can sell through your Facebook page, which is awesome, $9 a month, and plus credit card processing fees. You can add an e-commerce into your fan page. Awesome. You could pay for a boost. I have a client, this is a wonderful idea, and this is what they do, is it's pretty clever, is he'll do like a special on a product, and he'll put a virtual sample on his Facebook page. And then what he does is he pays Facebook, 20, 30, 40 bucks, and they'll give him a boost. So when that post goes out, it'll go out to specific keywords. So like he'll have it go out to booster clubs or fan groups for various sporting activities. And so he deals nationally, even though he's just a little Texas company, he deals all over the country because of this little Facebook fan boost that he does. And the other thing that we encourage you guys to do is put samples of your work, physical, real samples, photographs of your work on your Facebook page. And
Absolutely.
You can set up
and Instagram as well. Instagram, very powerful.
Anything you put on Facebook, you should be cross-posting to Instagram, back and forth. And you really should have those two linked together so that when you post on Facebook, it auto-posts to Instagram and vice versa. It's pretty easy to get that set up. So it's that engagement. So that's kind of what I pushed her along on that. And I kind of, she was on the phone, so I could kind of hear a little bit of smile in her voice after we got done, because I gave her a little hope. And what I really encouraged her to do was, guess what? Make samples. Because, and if you know me at all, you're going to hear me preach this over and over till you're going to get sick of hearing me preach this. This is my 4 keys to success in this industry. Number 1, you have to have the right tools for the job. That means the right software, it means the right equipment, you have to have the right artworks, otherwise everything's coming out of your head, okay? Number 2 is you got to get properly trained on how to utilize it all. And so, that's a dedication thing. And that old expression, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I can give you the best software on the planet, which I believe we have. I can give you the best graphics on the planet, which I'm pretty sure that's us too. But listen, if I can't drag you to my training events and get you reading, written materials, watching videos that are embedded in the software, attending the webcasts, or watching the recordings, the odds of you being successful are going to be greatly diminished. So, everybody that's in the class today, reach your right hand up and then reach it over your left shoulder and pat yourself on the back, because that's saying that you are serious about your business and you understand the value of training. Because once we get you trained, guess what? Then you can start producing samples. And the production of the samples is actually part of your training process. And if you think about it like this is really, really an important point. Okay, if you make a sample, and we're going to do that here in a second, if you make a sample and it's for a business or an entity that you would like to do business with, and even if you send a photo of that sample or a real sample over to that person and you get shot down and it doesn't go anywhere, guess what? You can go to somebody else. You can go to the rival school with that sample or a rival group or a sports bar or a church group or whoever you're working with. And guess what? You can show them that sample. They think you're working with that other group. Wow. You don't have to tell them anything. You know, that's up to you. It makes you look more professional. And we have this super successful client here, Joann Kinney, who's one of the 3 people that dukes it out here for all the spirit wear in our community. And, you know, she has a famous little expression. We use her as a case study in all of our literature. And she says, you know, I don't have to have a fancy web page. You know, I just promote my stuff on Facebook. You know, word of mouth is her main thing. She drops off samples. And part of the thing that she does, which is kind of interesting, is here, I'll show you. It's pretty funny. She everywhere she goes, she's wearing her own swag. I mean, she wears her own swag everywhere she goes. She's wearing something that she's actually produced. And, you know, she's her own best walking advertisement. And it's always spirit wear, and it's usually related to one of the high schools that's within her community, and which is actually our community, because my kids all go to school with her kids there. So I'll show you a little. This is Joann here. Let's see here, and she is a really very successful person and a really cool person. So here's Joann right here. So she's always wearing stuff like this. And the back of her vehicle, this is her older vehicle, but the back of her vehicle is this big giant vinyl decal with this, actually, I don't know if you can see it, this is a rhinestone decal in here, and that's her license plate. And she talks about, she says right here, it says, my business started to take off because I provided designs that were different than what you could buy online. I could provide them with one shirt or an order of 400. My prices were fair, but my designs and services is what set me apart. It's not about the money with me. It's about providing people with clothes that they're proud to wear. Word of mouth and my rhinestone decal on my SUV have been my best advertising. I don't need a fancy website, just a way to showcase my work. I always try to wear my designs as people ask where I got them. I drop a card in their hand or send them to my site. For customer base, my customer base includes high schools, cheer, dance, gymnastics studios. I also focus on various sports organizations at the high schools. A big focus recently has been bling football jerseys for the local high schools. I just completed an order for high school booster club for 400 bling jerseys and a follow-up for another 400. That's one high school. And she's very clever. So what she did is she did a mesh jersey that it was glitter vinyl and rhinestones, and she did the main color for the school is burgundy. So she did a burgundy version, a white version, and they had a blackout game where they had a black jersey. So she gave each person the opportunity to purchase the color that they wanted, and it was done as a fundraising kit. It was channeled through the Booster Club. And so what she does now, which she didn't do on this one, which was a huge mistake on her part, what she does now is she collects the money and then she pays them a revenue share. What she did when she did this job is she had the Booster Club collect all the money, and then she had to get it all collected from them, which was a big pain in the butt. So I kind of chewed her out for that, and I said, listen, Joann, you collect the money and then just give them a revenue share, because if you do that, they're not beating you up over price, they're just getting a percentage back. So how did she get the follow-up order for 400 shirts? Well, they had a game in October, and they did a pink out jersey. So she just sent an email out to everybody that ordered these and said, hey, listen, you can get your exact same jersey in pink, and then we're going to donate part of the proceeds to the Susan B. Komen Foundation, and boom, another 400 shirts. So she billed out $46,000 to one high school on this program. Then she had to collect the money.
Wow.
That was the bummer part, getting the money collected. But she finally got it all collected, but it was a pain in the butt because she had to front all the production costs. So you charge, so the way, and we'll teach you this at the end of the webcast, what you do, everybody now has credit card processing or PayPal. And so you actually take the money and you pay the organization a revenue share. They like that because they don't have to handle the money, number one, and number two, there's no risk to them, because on this program that she did, because she has a vinyl cutter and a heat press, it was a minimum order of one. She could do one. If it was only one shirt, she could have still made more money. And that's the way about going about engaging. She engaged with them. So that's a super big deal. So what we're going to do next is we're going to make a sample, make a virtual sample is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to cheat a little bit. So we're going to use some tools that are kind of unique to digital art solutions. What you're seeing on screen right now, you are seeing CorelDRAW version 2017. You are seeing there's actually three different programs that I currently have integrated into my CorelDRAW environment. Program number one is a program called Smart Designer. And that's a program that adds about 140 features to CorelDRAW that simplify and automate the design and production process. Program number two is a program called Rhinestone Designer that adds rhinestone multi-decoration functionality to CorelDRAW for doing heat press vinyl and also for doing rhinestone graphics and outputting them to stencils and making transfers. And then also I have my cutting module right here. This is my cutting software. And we're going to get into that a little bit too. So this particular project, we have a lot of different latitude in terms of the ways we could produce it. And I'll show you what I mean. We could do this as a sublimated job. We could use this on our Oki Data printer if we wanted to. We could do this in vinyl. We could mix in some stones. It all starts with the design. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Select Template in Smart Designer, and that's going to open up the template browser. And what I was doing immediately before the webcast is I was doing our final quality control check on our new art volume that will be shipping this afternoon. And the new art volume is called Premier Graphics, Summer 2018. And David, what we're doing, which is really interesting, is we're coming out with quarterly graphics releases, and every single quarter we have a new set of templates and clip art. We're also including rhinestone patterns and embroidery designs, and as well as concepts pages with the digital catalog. And we're doing that every quarter, and every quarter has different themes. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. Before we do that, I do want to show you a little bit of how that campus apparel piece works. If I go over here and click on check for updates, if I'm a campus apparel subscriber, a little window is going to pop up over here. And if I have a special serial number for my Smart Designer, it's going to allow me to click on a download and install those new templates. And one of the things that we do when we download them is, guess what? We do sales flyers.
I can't think of any product that's close to that you would have gotten by accident.
So here's you ready? So these are templates. So this is like some of the stuff we did in March. So here's a one color, here's a two color, and here's a multicolor. This is your sublimation and your Oki Data version of the file right here. And so here's some new mascot designs. Here's some fun little teacher designs that we did. Here's sales flyers. And the reason we do sales flyers is you can open up this flyer, the text is live, you can localize this to your account, and then you can send a link to your customer so they can actually, instead of attaching it as an email, they can just click on the little PDF and they can view it on their computer. And they can do that on their iPad, their iPhone, their Android tablet, their computer at home, doesn't matter. It's a very clever way of being able to distribute graphics, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a little bit. So I just wanted to give you guys a little feel for what campus apparel is all about. So every single month, we're coming out with new designs. And these aren't easy things. Like I can do some basic graphic design, but I can't do this stuff from scratch. I need some help. So our art department cooks these up every month, and this is actually storyboarded out for the entire year. So we know exactly what we're going to produce for that year, month by month. So that's an example of templates. Another example of templates, which actually ties into the whole school teams and sports thing, is monogramming. And so we have 3,200 monogram templates. And so if I wanted to do a program for a cheer group, I could do the basic cheer graphic, but every single one of those cheer graphics, guess what? Could have a personalized monogram for each girl. And we could charge extra, $3 to $5 extra for adding that monogram. Maybe just do it in vinyl, or we could do a cell phone cover and we could monogram their cell phone cover, or any multitude of products, even a sticker for the back of the vehicle. But that new thing that we're talking about, which is called Premier Graphics, works like this. This is the first collection, which is summer 2018. And then we're already quite deep into the fall 2018, which will come out in August. And so the way this works is you have templates that are in themes. So here's a theme right here where we have class reunion. Here's a theme right here where there's dental themes. So if you want to sell into dental office or orthodontists. Here's a theme that's family reunion theme. Here's a fishing theme right here with various fishing ideas and themes. Here's a girls trip right here, girls trip ideas. Kids is one of my favorite ones. We did some really pretty terrific clip art in here. Law enforcement right here. And so every single month there's 12 new themes, or every single quarter, excuse me, there's 12 new themes. These files are all production ready. So they are, if you pick the one color one, you can just cut that and weed that in vinyl. Notice we reverse out the image, so it's real easy to weed. If say you're getting heat transfers made, you could use this middle one, or you could screen print this one. If you're doing sublimation, you're going to use the more vibrant one with the deeper color set. That's going to be this third one over here. Music themes. There you go, another whole set of themes. Patriotic. There you go, patriotic themes. Summer. I've been having a lot of fun with this one lately. This is this pineapple thing, man. It's out of control. Somebody had to explain it to me. It's all about hospitality. It's the international southern symbol of hospitality, apparently. And then here's trade. So here's what I want to say about templates. A template is nothing more than a placeholder. So even though a template might have a specific look to it, we can easily localize that template to a completely different theme just by changing the clip art and the text. That's what we can do, super easy. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to go in here and we're going to take one of these templates and we're going to localize it. And so depending on the project, I can either pick a one color, two color, or multicolor. And so what I'm going to do is we're actually going to start out with a one color version of this template, and we're going to localize this real quick. Okay, so there's my template, and it pops into Corel. Now here's the thing, on this particular art volume, and this is also true for Campus Pro Marketing System, the templates are also available for Adobe Illustrator. So if you're an Illustrator user, you can manually edit the templates, and they'll also work on a Mac as well as a Windows computer. So these particular products are very flexible. So once the template opened up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here where it says Edit Text, and when I'm running Smart Designer, I get this little window over here, and so it says there's no school like the old school. So I'm going to say there's no school like, instead of the old school, we're going to go over here and we're going to type in the text, and we'll call it the central. Actually, you know what we'll do on there? We'll do it this way. We'll call it central. We'll just go and type in central here. You don't need that word school, so we can delete that. We'll just delete that. And we're just going to move that over here like this. You guys see what I'm doing? And then I'm going to go ahead and drag it over here, make it a little bit bigger. So we're going to move that over there just like that, like the central. And then where the clip art is, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here where it says reunion, and we're going to change that to, we'll call it Mustangs. So Mustangs. So we're just changing that design right there to Central Mustangs. And it's a template. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit T here to change that to title case. Do you guys see that? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that line. We don't need that line. And we're going to take Mustangs and we're going to make that bigger. So there's our design. So it started out as a class reunion design. Guess what? It's a spirit design. There's no school like the Central Mustangs. Okay. So what we're going to do next, we're going to swap that clip art out. So that clip art, it's a paw print. Last time I checked, paw print probably isn't going to work too great for a Mustang. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go down here to change artwork, and we're going to click on show preview, and we're going to click on the little paw right there, and we're going to do a keyword search. So in Smart Designer, all my digital art solutions artwork is keyword searchable. And I can also add keywords to my own artwork if I choose to. So I can search for, say, Central Mustangs and pull up all the Central Mustangs designs. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to type in Mustang. I'm going to hit enter. And we're going to pull up all the Mustangs. I could also type in horse. I could type in Bronco. I could do pretty much whatever I want. So let's see here. I'm going to put this guy right here in there. We're just going to double click on that guy right there. And the paw is going to go. And actually that paw is two colors. And the Mustang is going to pop in there. And then what I'm going to do with the Mustang, I'm just going to make the Mustang a little bit bigger. You guys see what I'm doing? So now we got a kind of a mismatch of colors in here. So the mismatch of colors we have is we've got this kind of, I guess it's kind of a bluish, periwinkle blue kind of, and then you got burgundy and you got gray. So I don't have to manually recolor this. I'm going to go down here to modify colors. Here's where this is super important. is if you're sublimating or you're using a white toner laser printer like an Okidata printer, the colors you see on screen are not going to be what prints on the other end. So what I would have done is we have color charts that we would have you print out onto a substrate. So let's say it was like a polyester t-shirt or a tile or a mug. We'd have you actually print out that color chart so you can see what the colors are going to look like. Then we go over to the chart and we say, that's the blue, that's the red that I want to use. And we use the color swapping feature in Smart Designer to swap out with the correct colors. That's exactly the way we do it. So what I'm going to do on this particular graphic, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell the software I would like to keep just the blue and just the burgundy. I'm going to do a color reduction. So we're going to go ahead and click on reduce colors. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap these colors out, and I'm going to go to swap. I'm not clicking on anything. I'm going to go over here to swap, and I'm going to swap out that blue with, why not? Let's do purple. Purple's a fun color, so we'll make some purple in here. So we'll make that purple. I don't have to click on anything. It's automatically going to color that. And then right here where this is, we're going to make that gray. And actually, I'm going to make it black. I'll show you why I'm going to make it black here in a second. So you guys see what just happened here? The shade of burgundy and the burgundy actually changed to black and a shade of black, which is gray. Now, because of this image, the way it's crafted, it's in layers. So what that means is I can come over here and ungroup it, and I can click on that layer and delete it. And now we just have the silhouette in here. And the reason I'm going to put the silhouette in here is we're going to throw a rim of rhinestones around there. And so this file, what we could do, we could print all this in our sublimation printer. We could just print it. And then what we could do is we could just lay a rim of maybe glitter in here and rhinestones around the perimeter of this. And at that point, we have a multi-decoration design. So we talk about getting a foot in the door. Pretty sure there's not too many people in your neck of the woods, your area, that are going into the booster club or dropping off a sample that looks like this, that has sublimation, glitter vinyl, and rhinestones on it. Probably not too many people doing that. That is called a door opener. People will see that. In my daughter's high school, their senior shirts, this absolutely kills me. I'm going to change my page size to 12 by 12 here in Corel. It was a burgundy shirt, and it had white, one color ink on it, and it just said Desert Mountain Seniors with a little oval in the design that said XXL. My daughter's an extra small. She's like, Dad, these are our free shirts. Nobody is going to buy one of these. I mean, every senior got one for free. She doesn't wear that shirt. She's got lots of cooler shirts that she wears all the time, but she's never going to wear that shirt because that shirt doesn't have a good graphic. Kids are really tuned into graphics. They really want things that look cool. And so you have to, if you're going to sell into that market, you got to have things that look cool. So let's make this thing look cool. So first things first, I'm going to take Mustangs. We're going to move that up there. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a gap between this horse, which is a Mustang, and this purple tail here. We're going to create a gap there. And the reason we're going to do that is there's going to be a rim of stones that's going to roll around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch down the little button here for Rhinestone Designer, and we're going to use a feature that will trim the horse through the tail and create a gap. So I'm going to select the horse. I'm going to select the tail. I got my shift key down here, and I'm going to use a feature that says punch through, and I'm going to hit apply. And so see how it creates that gap there? And my stones are going to go right in here. So we're going to put the stones in that gap. Now, one thing I see is we've got this little kind of residual object that was created here. If we click on that and just select it with our shape tool and hit delete, you can get rid of that. So there's that. And I'm going to save this because I'm actually going to output this on my vinyl cutter at work here. So we're going to say save as, and I'm going to put that in my Premiere Graphics Samples folder. And we're going to call that Central Mustangs. There's that. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some stones to this. And so I'm going to click on our little guy right here. We're going to click on this guy right there. And I'm going to select it. And in the Rhinestone program, I'm going to go over here to Outline Stones. And I'm going to click on Outline Stones, and I'm going to pick my stone size. So I'm going to pick a smaller stone. I'm going to pick an SS6 stone, which is a 2.4 millimeter stone. And the reason I'm doing that is this design right now is, let's see, what that design is 6.5 wide, so I'm going to drop that out to 10.5, hit enter. It doesn't have to be centered on the work page. I can make my work page bigger, because when we go to cut it, if you go to print this, it better be centered, or it'll print off the page. But for vinyl cutting, we don't have to worry about that. So what I'm interested in doing is I'm just interested in throwing one little rim of stones right around the perimeter right here. And so I'm going to use an SS6 stone because it'll give me a little bit more detail. The Rhinestone Designer is going to pick the stone size. I'm going to create a contour so it goes around the perimeter. I'm going to set that to, we'll try 2 millimeters first. I'm going to have it keep a path for the stones, and you'll see why I'm going to do that, because I'm going to apply the stones to that real quick. Okay, I'm keeping the path because if I do that, I can go plus or minus. You see what I'm doing? And I'm just moving these stones around there. And that actually looks pretty darn good. So the one thing that I want to do on that is remove overlaps, because we got these tight little areas here. And I'll click on remove overlaps, and Rhinestone Designer will come through and delete all those old overlaps. If I want to, I can come in here now and do some manual corrections to this. So I'm going to move that stone right here and just right click to copy it. I'm going to delete that little stone right there because that's a hiccup from this area right here. So we're gonna move this guy right over here up a little bit. I'll show you a little trick. If you go to View and Snap To in Corel, you turn Snap To off, you got a little more latitude in terms of manually respacing that. So we're going to manually respace that. So I'm just moving these. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe this one right here, we'll move that one up here and move this one over a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to look good. You want it to look professional. So you just added $4 to the cost of this, or to the selling price of this, by adding these stones in here. No joke. You added $4. You can charge $4 to $5 more just by putting in how many stones we got. I'm gonna click info. We got to select it first. 115 rhinestones. That's 25 cents worth of rhinestones in there. What do you think of those margins, David?
That's excellent. Excellent.
Yep. Okay, so let's take this one right here and let's move this guy right here a little bit. So we'll center this stone right here, and then we'll still have one in here, and I'm just gonna move this guy right over here. So it goes in that little cranny, and that's it. I mean, that looks pretty good. So what we're gonna do next is we got to decide the rest of the production process. And depending upon what we're doing, depending on if we're sublimating, depending on if you're using our Oki data printer, if we're using vinyl, you know, the next part of the preparation is going to dictate the process. So for instance, this is all one color right now, okay? And then we also have the secondary color for the Mustang, and then we have the rhinestone. So in a sense, it's 3 colors. If I'm printing, this is the cool thing, that if you print, what you can do is you can add text effects to this. So for instance, right here, I'm gonna go to View Wireframe, and we're gonna click on the word school right here, and I'm gonna go to Object, Shaping, and Weld. We're gonna weld all that text together. And I'm gonna do the same thing right here, where that tail piece is. I'm gonna select all this, I'm gonna go to Object, Shaping, and we're gonna weld all that together. And the reason I'm doing that is I wanna add a text effect to this. Also, if I'm gonna cut this in vinyl, we wanna make sure that it doesn't intersect on the paths. And I just deleted those nodes right there to smooth that around. So see how we smooth that? That's a little Corel trick. So let's add a text effect to it, and we'll either like it or we won't. So it's up to us. So we're gonna come over here and we're gonna go down here and we're gonna, I can see one thing a little bit close here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna node edit that guy out. So I'm just gonna select these nodes. You guys see that? And I'm gonna use my up arrow. You guys see what I'm doing? Tricky, tricky, tricky. So hit F4 to zoom out, and let's see here. Let's add a text effect. So I'm just gonna click on that, and I'm gonna use a feature in Smart Designer. I'm just gonna go over here to Effects, and I'm gonna go over here to Special Effects, and we're just gonna add an effect to it. So if I go over here, you get all these different effects that we can add. So if you wanna do like an old school collegiate effect and use the colors of the graphic, you can do that. It's an old school collegiate effect. So if we're doing sublimation, these are the kind of things that we can add. We've got a limitless set of possibilities. If I knew I was going to use that effect, I would have moved the central higher before I did the welding step. So you could do more of a digital type of effect. So you could go like that route too. So it's really up to you what you choose. What I'm going to do on this design though is I'm going to take this. This is going to be glitter and this is going to be solid color vinyl. I'm not sure what color vinyl yet. We'll get there. These little dotted lines right here, you got an intersector right here. So I am going to ungroup that. And we're going to delete this guy right here. We don't need him. Whoops, that's still a group. So we're going to delete that dot right there. And looking good. So let's get this all set up. So first things first, what I want to do is I want to tell the software which parts of this are going to be vinyl. And the way I do that is just by, oh, we want to weld that one too. Object shaping, missed that one. Weld it. There we go. So what I would do is I would select all the purple. So I'm just going to click on one instance of the purple, and in Rhinestone Designer, I'm going to say select all the instances of that color. And I'm going to go over here to Vinyl Fills in Rhinestone Designer, and we're going to pick the actual color from our color palette. So we're just going to go down here and we'll pick, depends on what color we want to do. I'm going to kind of switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go with a hot pink. So we'll say hot pink right there. So there's hot pink. This right here, we're going to do that in silver glitter. So I'm going to go over here to Vinyl Fills, and we're going to pick silver glitter. There's that. And then on the stones, the stone color is going to make a big difference. And what we're going to do on this one, we're going to do something a little brighter. So I'm just going to click on that stone color right there, and I'm going to say, select all of that color. And here's my rhinestone color palette. And we're going to kind of go with an aqua in here, aquamarine. There we go. And I got one little thing I got to do here to kind of square that away. We're going to go over here and we're going to move that over. So it's going to respace just that section. And I'm going to save that. So this is my production, or not my production file. This is like my virtual sample file. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a color separation. So if this was being sublimated, this is very important. If you were going to sublimate this part, you would not mark it as vinyl, because if you don't color it with a vinyl color, you could click on create print page and it would just separate all this printed stuff over to a separate page. So you'd have a page you could just use to print, okay? But we marked it as vinyl. We also marked the Bronco as vinyl, okay? So which means that we can create a color separation. So all I have to do in Rhinestone Designer is just click on apply, and it's going to take that file and it's going to make my cut file for me. And so the cut file, the way that's going to work is you're going to have three parts to this. Part number one is going to be this text. You notice it's mirrored it because it knew it's vinyl, so it mirrored it. This part right here is your glitter, and this is your rhinestone stencil. And these aren't circles anymore, because what Rhinestone Designer did is it changed it into an overcut object. So if you're cutting that on a cutter, it's going to drop the blade here, and it's going to come around. It's going to go past that point and trim that connecting point off. So you're going to get really good weeding when you go to cut it. Now, if you were doing this, part of this is sublimation, what it would do, it would have separated, there's no school like the Central Mustangs. It would have separated that off to another separate print page. So last step is I would send it over to my cutting software. Depends on what cutting software you got. Like if you have a Roland, you're going to have Cut Studio. If you got a Graphtec, you're going to have the Cutting Master software. If you have a GCC cutter, you're either going to have our Stone Cut software or you're going to have the Great Cut software. And then you would just fire this off to the cutter. And there's three layers you'd have to cut. So I'd probably cut the rhinestone stencil first. And if I had to do a whole bunch of these, we're going to cut the actual color separations here. If I had to do a whole bunch of these, what I would do is I would make one rhinestone stencil and maybe have 6 of them. So I'd do like two by 3, like 6 up. So what I would do in order to do that is I would just delete that little border there, and I would just say cut, and I'd go to a material preset here for my Wonder Flock. That'll set my pressure and my speed. This particular software, Stone Cut software, drives about 900 different cutters. Everything from a Cameo to a US cutter, so we drive them all. And here's all my pressure and my speed here. Here's my material width. I just say preview, and I would tell it that I want to do a total of 6. And then I would tell it to optimize my material. There you go, and that's 6 transfers at once. Just trim them up in a scissors, and we'd cut that out onto Wonder Flock. It would weed in one pull. We'd put that on a backer board. We'd dump stones on there. They'd brush in automatically in about 15 seconds, lift it off a transfer paper, and we're holding transfer. That's how that works. Okay, then the next part, what I would do, same thing here, is I'm going to leave that weed border around there, and I would tell it how many I'm going to do, but I would switch this over to glitter vinyl, and that's going to change my speed and my pressure here. And again, I'm going to tell it how many I want. So let's say we're going to do 48 of these. And I'm going to optimize my material for that. So I'm going to say optimize material so we don't waste any material. And then we're going to cut that. And then you're going to weed them all out individually. And then the last thing I would do is I'd cut the bigger part of the graphic. That's it. That's the whole process. So in the case of sublimation, maybe just this is going to be glitter, and just this right here is going to be rhinestones, and everything else is going to be, guess what? Sublimated. So you get to have it your way. The last thing I want to do with this is make a virtual sample. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on proof here in Rhinestone Designer, and I'm just going to hit apply, and it's going to turn that into a virtual sample. So it's going to make the rhinestones look like real rhinestones, and it's going to put a sparkle on them there for you. And then boogie up here to Smart Designer, go to templates, and go to virtual samples right here. And then what I'm going to do is I've loaded a whole bunch of different products from Sanmar's catalog, because you can load anything you want into our virtual samples feature. And the one I'm going to go for is this t-shirt right here. So we're just going to click on that t-shirt, and Smart Designer is going to put that on the shirt for me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. And I actually output something like this real similar the other day, and I made one little change on it. What I did is I ungrouped it, and I selected that whole color there. I'm just going to do that. That little select by color feature is pretty darn handy, and I just made that white. And this we made in, actually did this in pearls, and then we got glitter. So last step, what we'd want to do is make a little proposal sheet. So I'm going to clear my proposal sheet right here. So I'm in production speed right now. I'm not really in training speed. So you're getting trained, but this is like when we're just making stuff, this is how we do it. And so I'm going to add that product right there to my proposal sheet. And then we're just going to hit create proposal, and I'm actually going to post this to handout so you guys can play around with this. So I'm going to click on create proposal. If you're watching the recording, you're not going to have access to the handout, so I'm just going to tell you that right now. So it's going to dynamically create a sales proposal. This is what you're going to send to your client, and this is what they're going to be seeing, and they know you're serious. And you notice I put a watermark on there. You don't have to put a watermark on there if you don't want to, but it's not a bad idea to put copyright your company name on there somewhere. And then I'm going to click on right here. I'm going to say export to PDF, and I'm just going to throw that up on my desktop. Well, actually, we'll put it in my Premiere Graphics folder for samples. And this is Central Mustangs t-shirt. If you wanted to, you could put pricing information on there because that's a live template, all that whole flyer. So there's that. And we're going to hit save. And that's going to make my PDF file. And so that PDF file, here's how I'm going to get that over to you. You ready? This is modern. This is the modern way of doing things. I'm not going to attach this to a email. If I attach it to it, if I try to send an email to David's group over there, it's going to get picked off immediately. That attachment's just going to get stripped out because they have a pretty strict little email security setting on their email system so they don't get viruses emailed to them. So what I do when I send files to David, what I do is I post them to our Hightail cloud server, and then he can just download them. Like when I do the recording of this video, that's how I get the video recording over to him. You guys can do the same thing. And what I use is what's called Hightail Spaces. And I have a paid account, but I pay $20 a month for this. You can get a free account and do nearly the same thing that I do. There's more options in here. So for instance, like if I wanted to have like our whole pricing system and flyers for our multi-decoration system, here's all that information. Here's a little video on the process. And I would just take this and email this link over to my customer. And they wouldn't have to download, they wouldn't have to do anything. All they'd have to do is just click on it and they'd view that PDF. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Hightail space. You guys ready? I'm just going to click on new space and I'm going to name it, and we'll call it Central Mustangs. This is a web page just for that account. It's their own personal web page. The only thing I have to do to create that web page is say create space. That's it. Then what I would do, I would come over here and I'd find that file, which I knew I put in my Premiere Graphics samples folder. So I got to find that. There it is. And I'm just going to take that concept page, which is right here, and I'm just going to drag it, and I'm going to drop it right in there. And then while we're doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop it into your handout so you guys can all download this. So I'm not emailing this to the client. I'm emailing them a cover letter that is a real brief little paragraph, explains what we're doing and gives them maybe pricing, or lets them know that if they choose to do this, that we can modify this and personalize it any way we want. We could add any kind of file we want in here. If we do JPEGs, they'll have a preview. If I do videos, they'll have a preview. So we do a lot of videos. We'll put videos in here. So all they're going to do is click on that little link, and this is what they're looking at. They're going to look at the actual concept page of that design. They can zoom in on it. They can comment on it. They can like it. You can set it up for approval requests to use it as a proofing system. This is engagement. And here's what I promise you. It's like fishing. If you have our system, okay, and you were to do 10 of these a week and get them out to prospective people in your community, it doesn't even have to be in your community. If you were to have 3 of those people get back to you, and maybe one order that would come out of that, and maybe that order was for 50 pieces, and you're billing a shirt like this, your production cost, that's a $2.50 Sanmar shirt, and you've got $2 worth of material on there. So all in, you're under $5. That shirt right there at retail, that's a $30 retail shirt right there. Even at a level of, if you're doing, you know, a price sensitive market, you're making money even if you're going 20 bucks on that. Okay, so this is high profit margin. And so if you did a $50 order and you're making 15 bucks a shirt, guess what? You just made what, 750 bucks? You know,
Nice.
Yeah, it's not bad. And then what you do is you do complementary products with that. So like David's idea on the charm bracelets with the photo of the kid on it, the Yeti cup with a monogram,
Or a sandstone car coaster.
a sandstone car coaster. You're putting complementary products together and you're creating a fundraising program. And the reason you do it this way is as follows. Number one, if you did a fundraising program, the way you can do it is if you set up a Facebook page, you just get a Shopify Lite account. Super easy to do. Shopify Lite, okay? So not a regular Shopify account, just a Shopify Lite account. Okay, it's $9 a month. You can even do a trial. This will embed e-commerce into a Facebook page. So you can set up a Facebook page for that group, for that fundraiser, and link it to Shopify Lite. They're going to make their money on the credit card processing. That's how they're going to make their money on it. What you're going to do is you're going to set a retail price, and you're going to pay a revenue share back to the organization. And the question that gets asked all the time is, well, what's a fair revenue share? Usually between 20 and 30%. And you can set up an incentive. You can say, hey, listen, if the program produces XYZ volume in sales, we're going to give you an extra 5%. So at the end of the program, once it's concluded, you're just going to write them a check for their portion of the revenue share. You're going to give them an accounting, you're going to give them a sales report so they know exactly what their earnings are. There's no risk to them, zero. They don't have to collect any money. They're not sending kids home with order forms. Zero risk for them. We have clients, this is their whole business. This is all they do, is these fundraising programs like that. And they just set them up for schools and groups and organizations and all that kind of stuff. Super easy way to do it. Now, the other thing that we do, and one of the things that we suggest, is you can buy from Vistaprint for 10 bucks, you can get 500 cards. And so what our clients will do is they'll make a little card up and they'll put a QR barcode on it. And that QR barcode directs them to the Facebook page or the web page where the ordering is done. And the way you do a QR barcode, guess what? Smart Designer, that's a feature. So you just go over to our QR function and you put in the URL, that's a Digital Art Solutions right there, or whatever you want it to say. And it's gonna make a QR in vector. And so if somebody scans that, it's gonna go right to our web page. Okay, and that's actually vector, pretty crazy. Okay, so that's a great way to get traffic for your fundraising program, because so some of us are older and mature folks. You know, for me, it's kind of nice. I have a card. I know that the money that's being generated from this fundraiser is going to a good cause. They, you know, they gave me this card. My grandkids came home and gave it to me. My kids came at home. My friends gave it to me. And all I got to do is follow the URL to that Facebook page, or I can scan it if I'm tech savvy with the QR code, place my order, and I'm done. Let me tell you, that's a heck of a lot more fun than ordering cookie dough, wrapping paper, magazine subscriptions. What am I missing out of here? Popcorn, all these horrible things that people have to do for fundraising programs. You're creating a product that creates a memory. It creates a memory, whether it's a personalized charm bracelet, a monogrammed mug, a you know, a Yeti sticker that's going to go on a Yeti on the back of your car made out of vinyl. You're creating a memory, something that people actually want to purchase. And the way you pitch this to your organizations, you tell them, hey, listen, it's not incumbent on the sales skills and the outgoing nature of the child. All they got to do is get the cards out there. All they got to do is just dump off these cards with all their friends and post a link on their personal Facebook pages. And, you know, that's all they have to do. They don't have, the kid doesn't have to be sitting in front of the grocery store trying to peddle cookies. You know, my kids are really shy. That never worked well for us. So it's a brilliant way to do fundraising kits. And so people always ask, how do you know how to do all this stuff? Well, guess what? We have a whole, when you get set up with our system, guess what? We have all these training documents and videos. And one of the most important training documents is this one right here. It's in their multi-decoration system, and it's our multi-decoration system training guide. And this is everything you need to know about multi-decoration system, our multi-decoration system, all the physical stuff, all the pricing stuff, but guess what? Fundraising. We have a whole section that teaches you this whole concept. Exactly, all the revenue sharing models, exactly how to do it. And so we don't leave a whole lot to the imagination. We provide our clients with all of the tools to do that. And so this is my challenge to you guys. This is what I'm going to challenge you guys to do, is if you follow the technique that we're talking about here, and you do virtual samples, okay, and you get these in front of your customers, okay, you're gonna write orders, and that's gonna feel really good, and you're gonna like doing that, and you're gonna do more of that. But in order to do that, you have to have the right tools for the job, which means you have to have artwork to begin with. You got to get started with artwork. You have to have, guess what? You got to have the right software. It makes it easy for you to do this, because this is super easy for us because we have Smart Designer that just automates all this stuff. You've got to have the right equipment. So you have to have a quality sublimation system from Conde systems, or a white toner ink printer, or a vinyl cutter, or a heat press. That's a near perfect repertoire of equipment there for a personalization business. And then you just have to make samples and get stuff out there. And the fourth part of the equation that I forgot to tell you about is the persistence part, because it's all comes down to persistence. And it's like, you know, David, do you fish? Did you grow up fishing?
A little bit.
I'm a fishing guy, and this is my grandfather's technique. We had a lake place in northern Wisconsin, and we kind of was up on a little bit up on a hill, and about 100 yards down the hill was a dock, and on the dock there was fishing pole holders. And so what my grandfather would do is we'd have a fishing pole, and we'd have a bobber and a leader, and we'd have a minnow on the end of it, and he'd put 4 rods out there, and the little bobbers were floating around. It was a really calm lake, and we'd sit up in the trailer, and he saw the bobber go down. He'd on his binoculars, he'd yell for us kids, fish on, and we'd go tearing down the hill, and the first kid to the pole would reel the fish in, usually get all the lines all tangled up. But we caught a lot of fish doing that. And guess what? If you got more lines in the water, you're likely to catch more fish. And you have to use different baits. The same thing doesn't work for every group. A rhinestone decal might not work for one group. It might work great for a booster club, but maybe it's not going to work for the men's Rotary Club. So you have to use different techniques. And one of the most important things I'm going to teach you guys here today, and then we're going to wrap it up, is the personalization part. Because what makes this a $25 to $30 t-shirt is just the design. It's a cool design. People are going to connect to it. But if you want to make it even more valuable to the customer, you personalize it. And that could be in the context of a number. That could be in the context of a person's name, but it could also be in the context of a monogram. And I'm just going to add a monogram to this real quick, because I think Vine would look really good with that. Normally I'm not a big Vine guy, but we'll go ahead. Everybody loves Vine, so I'm going to cave into popularity here. So I'm just going to go down into our 3,200 monogram templates, and I'm going to pick out Vine, and we're just going to go and click on this template right here, and we're going to name drop that real quick. So I'm just going to go over here and just type in whatever my letters are here. I don't have to know anything other than just typing that in. If I want to weld all that together, just click weld. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy that into our little virtual sample layout. And we're going to make that a little bit smaller. And we're going to give them the option of doing a personalized monogram on every sleeve, or however we're going to do it. That's the option, or in the back of the neck. It's up to us. So it's that, would you like fries with that? Do you want to personalize that? Do you want to customize that? Do you want to make it unique for every single person? And then we're going to offer this monogram as a sticker, because that's 15 cents worth of vinyl. And then we're going to offer that monogram as something that we can put on the same exact concept on a cell phone cover. And we're going to go ad infinitum. That's how we build a fundraising kit. And so what would I charge extra to personalize monogram on that? Probably $4 to $6. I think $5 would be a pretty fair price on that. So that's the whole scheme. So I call it a scheme because it really is a scheme. It's a scheme. There's no getting around it. It's a very easy and productive way to generate revenue for your business. And it involves you getting off your butt, making some samples, getting them in front of people, and you get enough lines in the water, guess what? You're going to catch some fish. And anything else you'd like to add, David?
I think you always got to freshen up your offering and look for opportunities and sample them. It's that simple.
Yep, I agree. And the other thing you got to do that's critically important is you can't give up. You try something, it doesn't work, you just keep plugging away. That's, I can give you great software, I can give you great training, I can give you all these great design templates and all these different graphics packages that we have, but and I can coach you, but you know what? It's not going to work every time, and you're going to try something, and you're going to have an expectation that I'm going to have to get an order from Central Mustangs, and maybe you don't. So you take it over to the East Cougars, or you take it into your friends got kids that are in Little League, and you do a little spirit shirt for their Little League team or their Pee Wee football, or your cousins involved with the church group and they have a women's auxiliary and they're going on a retreat. You just keep plugging away. You gotta just keep plugging away. And if you do that, you're going to make a nice little income for yourself, because at the end of the day, what we really want to do is make money. And we don't want to make fun money. We want to make real money. We want to make money that pays bills and puts kids through college and helps you to improve your life and the life of your family. That's what it's all about. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recorded portion of the webcast, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, Craig, I'm going to go ahead and drop off and get on another video. But I want to thank everyone for participating in this. And, what I have to say is education is the key. The more educated we are, the better decisions we're likely to make. But that's no substitute for hard work, is it, Craig?
No, it isn't. No
getting out there, making those calls, finding out what your clients want. But always bring a sample with you that is personalized for them. And the more personal, the better. Well, Craig, thank you. I'm going to drop off. You take care. Everybody have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks, David.
Bye-bye. Okay.